feel a change is coming. Something is shifting. I can feel it. We're approaching the 100 segment mark on margin. And I can feel it. I can feel something's, I said the other day, suddenly, gradually and then suddenly, right? And that's been happening on the back end. My progress on the technical side of this business. This whole business is technical. It doesn't have people. It has software and processes and things instead of people, except for me. And that's what's happening all the time behind the scenes. That's what's building the business. That's what's defining the business. That's how I spend my time. That's what is holding us back and hurtling us forward. Software. So you get what you measure is the title of one of the latter chapters of Hamming's The Art of Science, Doing Science and Engineering. And I forgot that was there. I was flipping through Hamming yesterday, and I was like, I always get that that which can be measured can be managed. That's what's stuck in my head. And that was supposedly from Peter F. Drucker, like a, Harvard Business School and Harvard Business Review type of author. But I saw like some webpage says that he never actually said it, and I couldn't find the original quote. But then I came across Hamming. You get what you measure. I think it's more eloquent. I think it's definitely slightly more pithy, and it might be more righter. It might be more correct. Careful what you measure. We're going to measure containers. What do I mean? Shipping containers. So if you're not familiar in the software world, there's this way of sort of making sure that your programs run when they get to the new part of the world, the new location in cyberspace where they're supposed to be running, and that's called containerization. It's mostly Linux containers, but I think you can do Windows and Windows containers as well. But anyway, Docker is the main platform that you use to build and run and distribute containers, although you don't have to use Docker. But containers are a way of just making sure that when you make a program on your computer and try and send it to someone else, that it runs and that there aren't problems and there isn't weird behavior because it's running on a different computer. You build an app in Linux and you run it in Windows, you're going to have headaches. You containerize it, you, in theory, won't. But it's a different way of thinking about how you build. It's slightly different. Sorry, I was yelling all day today. We won the game. So what do I can feel that I could build the website and only the website and all the functionality that it needs, and that sort of be my first thing and last thing and ultimate thing from the business side of the programming, or from the business side of the programming side of Retraice. But I just feel like it would be better to do like 1,000 projects first, 1,000 little projects before I really commit to the architecture any more than I've already committed to the architecture of the beating technical heart of Retraice, which is this website. And I've just reached this point where like I've read and fiddled as much as I possibly can. I've read as many things as I can read without like sort of diminishing returns in terms of what I'm learning. I've fiddled with as many tiny little problems as I can before, without shifting into diminishing returns and starting to get to the point where I need to be sort of sending things out into the world. And the thing I could send out into the world is the main thing the main business code that I want to write, which is this website. Or I could sort of do a bunch of projects first, get a feel for things, send those out. Anyway, you get it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to ship containers. And by the way, containerization is analogous to actual maritime shipping container technology or methodology. Is the technology? I mean, it's just basically standardization, right? You standardized shipping containers, and suddenly sending things became way, way more efficient. Same thing happened in the software world. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. You get what you measure. Container analogy. Pod-driven development. I was listening to Django Chat. Go listen to that if you have any interest in Django or web app development, web development, and web apps and web app frameworks, and go listen to something. What was it? Running in production, which is anyway. So. But they mentioned this thing. I didn't hear the original conversation, but they alluded to it, this idea of book-driven development. There, a couple of book authors tend to come on the Django Chat podcast, or at least it's one of the hosts is a book author. William S. Vincent. He writes these. I'm not going to give books out. No, stop it. Oh, I lost my place. Anyway, and I thought, I don't even know what they mean by book-driven development, and yet I totally do. It's like an alternative to test-driven development and maybe other kinds of driven development, but it's a different way of thinking about how you code and how you and what code you choose to do and choose not to do. I want to do pod-driven development. That makes so much sense to me. I'm not going to explain it. It just makes so much sense to me. Okay, you get it. Listen, that's it. We're going to start shipping containers. And also, I should say, like, great programmers tend to ship. Like, that's what makes you a badass if you're a programmer or a programming team. They say developers or but it's programming. Like, developing is too much. It's more syllables than programmer, developer, programmer. But they say that now. Like, when back in the day, it was just programmers. Anyway, great ones tend to ship, and so we're going to ship containers. Have I said it? Should I say it a fourth, fifth, sixth time? Ma98, Saturday, January 27th, 2024, 4:40 p.m. is when we started. Signing off.